The Metaphysician's Companion.
Well, good afternoon, or yes, we're just in the afternoon, John. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too, Graham.
It's episode 9?
It is indeed 9.
And what are we going to talk about today, do you think?
I think we should give karma a go.
Karma a go.
Yes.
That's a very interesting conversation. Have you got any good ideas about it? Because I've got very little at the moment, so just keep on talking.
Well, yeah. I thought about karma because it's a word from Sanskrit that has actually entered the English language, and people talk about it, but I don't think they really understand what its deeper meaning is, like what its original philosophical meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember myself hearing many years ago, I think it was as an American expression, what goes around comes around, and has this idea of the things that you do come back to you. And I've had people thinking that kind of thing, like if I hit you, eventually I get hit back.
Okay.
Yeah, some sort of equalization law. But I think another way to look at it is, like within Christianity and other religions, they have this idea that you are punished for your sins. The things that you do wrong are written in a big book, and after death, you've been a bad boy, off to hell with you, or off to the other place.
I doubt they have a book now. They probably have it on...
God's computer.
God's computer.
But the idea is you're punished for what you do. Whereas one of the superficial ideas is to understand that karma is you are punished by your actions.
But is it only punishment? Could it be the opposite? Could it be a reward for doing good?
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. Like you are rewarded and punished for the things that you do.
So in the Christian religion, you go to hell. So that's your punishment, and you burn in hell for the rest of your life.
But like within like Buddhism, Hinduism, and that, the karma, it's attachment, and it's attachment to the fruits of your action.
So is it just the fruits of this action of this particular life, or is it fruits of action of many lives of them? We go into reincarnation and the rest of it, of course.
Well, within the concept of reincarnation, it transcends. It goes from one life to the next. And
does it actually? Do you think it actually? Everything you do bad in a previous incarnation comes over to the next one, or do you think it's partly?
I think the easiest way I think of understanding it is to start. Karma comes from thoughts, emotions, and actions, and the factor of every physical thing going around and coming back, it just does not make sense to me.
But except Einstein, who said there was every action there's a reaction?
Newton.
Yeah.
Newton's third law. Yeah, maybe so. But the kind of thing I think of is more like in the emotional thing. For example, when I talk about this punished by what you do, is if I lie all the time about things, I lie to you, in an equal and opposite total thing, you would have to lie back to me. It's like that's the balance. Is that the balance?
Okay. So it's a balancing thing, basically balancing the energy of the negativity into positivity, whatever.
Yeah. But the sort of thing that I'm thinking, though, is that if I lie to you, I get to the stage where I can't tell when I'm lying to myself. And that then clouds my mind, and I can do stupid things for bad reasons.
Okay.
Because I cannot tell the difference between truth and lies. And that's the karmic punishment, is that by performing this behavior of lying, I, to use the yoga terms, it clouds the buddhi. We spoke of intuition previously, and buddhi is intuition. So lying stops me from being able to see the world clearly.
And therefore, it also stops the opening up of your consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So this is where we're starting to move out of the common idea of karma into, what it means when you start looking at the Buddhist or yogic sort of texts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think about where somebody's had an association with somebody in a different form in a previous incarnation, for example, and that is affecting their lives here? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I'll quote again from a commentary on the Yoga Sutras. Yeah, karma derives from the attachment to the fruits of action. Like, I know there's something in the New Testament, never let your right hand know what your left hand is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking about when you're giving charity. You give it because you're giving something and you're not attached, like, oh, I'm a good person because I've given $1,000 to the poor. Or, I want the person to do something
for me because I've passed that money on, or the charity.
That's attachment.
So I'm doing it to increase my status, for example, rather than just giving for the sake of giving.
Yeah, and in the the Islamic world, the Sufis, I don't know how to actually say this word, but barakah. And you find in the Sufi stories, some ferryman will give a beggar a lift across the river without charging him, and he says, "Oh, I do it for the barakah," meaning. It's...
Is that where the ferryman story comes from? They give the coins to the person when they die on the eyelids?
Well, that comes from Greek.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I thought, ferryman, and you've got the money to pay the ferryman.
That's charon, crossing the river of death.
Yeah.
But the... the idea of, I do this good act because I will get some benefit from it at some stage, but I'm not attached to what that benefit is.
And the trouble is most people that do this stuff are attached to it.
Well, I don't know what most people are like in that regard.
Well, I'm just using that phrase that you find, people, it's done for a reason rather than done for a reason, for status or whatever. It's not done because they just feel they need to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's that guy on the street. I better give him $20 because he obviously needs a meal.
Yeah, but if you do that, here's $20 gone, it's gone.
Yeah. But if it's gone, if you say here's $20, but what I'll give you the $20, but what I want you to do is do this for that $20. That's
you're becoming attached to the action.
Yeah,
it's not just letting it go. And this is the same, I think, with... The one I was thinking about is, there are people who are engaged in domination and control as in a relationship.
Yeah.
They achieve their feelings of, esteem or good only because they can control others. And the question is, going to the reincarnation side of it, what happens when they die and the physical universe goes? And there is no one to dominate and control. What are they left with? It's this sort of need to control that is the karma. And when you're talking about travelling, coming from one life to another, that comes into the next life.
And it may not take the same form.
No, like I do not know how this works in reality.
I don't think many people do, really.
I see it within the context of the lives that we're living here in this world.
Yeah.
People who are angry all the time get avoided.
As you know from a previous conversation, and as listeners will know from previous conversations, I've actually had some experience of so-called karma, because when with the healer and with that particular gentleman gave me the check and threw me out that, and in a sense, when I was going through, I use the word treatment, when I was going through the healing process, it was related to something that the medium had told me, had told me it was related to a previous incarnation. It wasn't related to this one, and it was basically a payback. It's something I had to go through to do it, and that's why the forgiveness part of it was really important, because you're forgiving yourself for doing something, and you're forgiving the person for doing it back.
Oh yeah. Well,
So you're breaking the cycle.
yeah. The forgiveness is releasing attachment.
Yeah.
Whether it's, like I say, you forgive yourself, and you not only the other person, but you forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you do not forgive yourself, you are holding on, and that's what that holding on to whatever it is what will come back.
And the other side of this is that, depending on how you look at things, if the information or the inner knowledge I get is that in these other dimensions where perhaps the consciousness goes, there is actually no such thing as time, for example. So, or it's not, time is not as we see it in this life. So it reacts differently. So I sort of got the feeling that that everything, in the sense, is, if you're looking on a spiritual, etheric level, for one word, that everything is actually in the moment, rather than this time sequence we live in this physical life. So if you take the time sequence out and then take it back to this happening of karma, in a sense, it's happening straight away.
Oh yeah, that's in the language of mythology, that's where you get the difference between time everlasting, forever, like in linear time, and eternity. See, eternity is not a description of time. And it's like with the Aboriginal people and the dream time.
Yeah.
The dream time is something that happened a very long time ago, right now. You get it?
Yeah.
It's happening now and all through time at the same
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are all really, which is very hard for when you're living in the physical world to actually accept these concepts.
Yeah.
And they are, in a sense, mythological, for want of a better word. I think that's the wrong word I'm using, but it's something that it doesn't appear real, as karma doesn't. When you're leading a life, you actually lead the life as you think it is. And if you're the type of person that only gives to receive, for want of a word, or does something to be rewarded, then you wouldn't even be in your consciousness about this. It wouldn't even exist. Would I be right in saying that?
I'm not actually. I think I lost the train of thought there, Greg.
Did you? Well, what I'm trying to say is a normal, average human being out there does his thing, or she does her thing.
Well, I think everybody does what they think is.
Yeah, but they live their life, and the life is always about. A lot of the life is about taking and not giving, or vice versa, or manipulating, or whatever. You see a lot of that going on in life. People feel good about themselves because they manipulated somebody to do what they wanted, for example.
Yeah, it's what's called a transactional relationship.
We know some politician, not transactional, I won't mention his name here. Transactional relationships, rather than a relationship that's based on I use the word love. I think that's probably the wrong word here, but it's done from a conscious point of view of we're all in this together, for want of a better word, and we need to share the world and make it a better place. So that sounds really... sorry, people, it sounds crass.
Okay, in the world of ancient Greece, there are 5 types of love.
Right.
Yeah, and you're talking about one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of... It's like the love for everybody isn't the same as the love for an individual.
Yeah, of course.
It's just that we don't have make that distinction with the word.
We haven't got a word for it, really.
Yeah, separate
words that split it all up.
Yeah, but
I've lost you now, haven't I? So where do we go from here? From my personal experience, I think there is such a thing as karma. How it plays itself out, or how it really works, do I really know in this world? The answer is I've had some experience of it, but can I guarantee for everybody that is what it is? The answer is no, because again, it's like anything else. What we're talking about, it's all about the experience.
Well, I would say that in this world, where I really notice it is in emotional interactions.
Yeah.
and that holding on. Like one of the first things, even before I became interested in these things, was gift giving. When I decided, when I give a gift, whatever you do with it, it's now yours.
Mm-hmm.
I have no connection with it. If you want to throw it on the floor and jump up and down on it, and that gives you pleasure, fantastic. I gave it to you. It's yours to do with what you want, like no attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I have seen people, and sort of wedding gifts came to mind. Oh, we better put that out because the mother-in-law's coming. And people don't like it. And it's because the mother-in-law has an attachment to the gift because it represents the way that people feel about her or something of this kind of thing.
And you hear people say, "Don't you remember I gave you that?"
Yeah.
Because they've attached themselves to that gift to that person.
So
it's like, well, you owe me because I gave you that particular. Like for example, I gave you $10,000 towards your home, and you don't let anybody forget that you gave the $10,000 to home.
Yeah. See, that's an attachment.
Yeah.
And there is karmic outfall from that. How do the people who receive that $10,000 feel?
Do they feel as though they owe the person
something more?
Yeah.
On an emotional level.
Okay.
That's what I mean. You see, this is karma in everyday life, and it's one of the first places you can see it. Things. I was trying to think of one that had to do with a car. Same story that you give.
Yeah.
Someone has given son or daughter a car, and the young person has sold it and taken the money to go travelling, and the parent is like, "But I gave you a car."
Yeah.
Well, they didn't give it if they're still attached to it.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's that's what I mean. Karma is not a magical thing. It's a description of real world, attachments.
So we can really say that karma exists on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
And also karma also may exist on a esoteric basis of some of previous incarnations as well. So it's an ongoing thing that never really stops or dies.
Well, I think we do come into this world bringing predispositions with us. And when I say predispositions, I think a lot of that is karmic. And then we come into this world and we create more. But like I said, that Buddhist approach is to let go of attachments. The kind of thing is my favourite teacup is broken. I can feel upset about it, or I can let it go. In both cases, the teacup's still broken. It's this letting go of the attachment, and that's where the forgiveness comes in.
So let's try and summarise this a bit.
Yeah.
And then we can perhaps call it a day on this particular subject, because it's quite complex when thinks about it. So, summarising again, basically, karma is an ongoing thing that happens in day-to-day life in this physical world. Karma can be carried over to another incarnation as well. And that can be played out in this world or another time or place, depending on the consciousness of that particular person. Does that gel with you?
Oh yeah.
So what I think we're saying is you can prove karma in this world already. What goes around comes around. So that does exist, but it's much broader and bigger than that in essence.
Yeah. The attachments that you form in this lifetime can be like mild, medium, or intense.
Yeah.
And the intense ones are more likely to manifest. But if you die with attachments to, like emotional attachments in place, then they don't necessarily disappear.
Because it's basically those attachments are a form of energy.
I often don't like the word energy because
I know you don't like the energy,
vague.
Or vibration.
Yeah, it's it's like a magnetic attraction. Yeah, because you've got it. I imagine it like circling around in your brain or your body or your etheric body or somewhere, and it produces a vibration that attracts experiences or attracts people. And, the old birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
People who are similar come together. And people who are, some can go through life completely oblivious to other people who are different because they just don't get attracted in.
Yeah, because
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is that it's not a magical thing. And in fact, it's a description of a process rather than a thing in itself.
Yeah, and it's a description of the process that plays out in this world.
Yeah, and that process is driven by attachment, whether that's through mental attachment, emotional attachment. It's expressed in action, because karma actually means action.
Mm-hmm.
So when if you act on your thoughts, which you tend to do, that's where the karma, you form that field of attraction within yourself, and it can attract things that you find pleasant or unpleasant based on what it is, the karma is that you have, the field that you are generating. How's that?
Yeah. Well. It's an interesting subject, and I think it's one of those things that you have to start to think about it. For example, for yourself, what has I've done of a person that is causing this to happen in my life, for example, which I think is a starting point of this sort of thing. How am I hanging on to something for whatever reason? That cup I gave to Aunt Josie.
Yeah.
Do I still think about it and think about when I see it there? Oh, I gave that cup to Aunt Josie. If Josie takes the cup and smashes it, do I get upset? Well, you shouldn't, because it's basically a gift.
Yeah.
So when you say give a gift, you need to release the attachment with it, or if there is that reason it's done.
And the attachment can be to the response that you're getting.
Yeah.
You do it to get someone to love you, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then it's not a gift; it's a payment.
And there's a lot of that going on. So I think the way I would end this is basically, karma is with us now and always has been. And whether we take this into other incarnations of life, that is a question that only some people can answer. My opinion is yes. Other people's maybe no. But the bottom line is, you don't really want to take any of it with you when you die.
Yeah. All I'd say is, the world responds to you based upon what you do. That's the fundamental description.
Okay. Shall we call it a day here?
I think that's an opening on the topic, really.
Yeah, well, it's going to go on forever. So again, everybody, if you've got any ideas or questions, then please let us know, because we really do enjoy getting responses from your thoughts on some of these matters. We've had a few, and we plan to put them all together one day and have a discussion around them, response to them. So if you have any, then would you please contact us on the email, John?
The email is metphyscompanion@gmail.com. That's METPHYS companion, all one word, @gmail.com.
And if you want everybody else to see your comments, you can actually put them on the podcast. There's a place on Spotify to do that. So you can actually add your comments there as well. But it'd be great if you share this podcast with others. If you're enjoying it, that would be wonderful. And I hope you will. And I think that's a goodbye from me, John.
And a goodbye from me. Let's see. Catch you on the next one.
Bye for now.